The great city of Varos 9 floated above a dying red star. Its metal towers reached toward the dark sky, glowing with millions of lights. Inside those towers lived hundreds of alien species, each busy with their work, their families, their dreams. Among them was Lyra Thana, a single mother of the insectoid race called Virelians. Her people were known for their shimmering carapaces and delicate limbs, but also for their strict social customs. Life was not easy for a single Virelian mother. Lyra lived in the lower decks where the air smelled of oil and burnt energy. Every morning she woke before the first light cycle to begin her 12-hour shift at the assembly factory. Her daughter Mirika stayed home playing and studying through a small holoprojector. Mirika was young, only 6 solar cycles old, and full of energy. Her favorite possession in the entire universe was a small glowing orb. It was a simple toy, yet magical to her. A gift from her late father before he died in a mining accident 2 years ago. The orb sang a soft tune when spun, and it projected dancing lights around the small apartment. Whenever Mirika was lonely, she would hold the orb close and whisper to it as if her father could still hear. For Lyra, that toy was a reminder of both love and loss. One evening, after another exhausting shift, Lyra returned home. Her body ached, her mind heavy with the worries of survival. The small apartment was dark except for the soft blue glow of the orb on the floor. "Mirika?" she called softly. The little one ran out from behind the curtain, her wings fluttering with joy. "Mama, I made the orb sing again." Lyra smiled weakly. "That's wonderful, little star." She began to clean the cluttered room, her claws shaking with fatigue. There were food packs, old energy cells, and laundry scattered everywhere. She moved quickly, not seeing the small glowing orb rolling under her foot. There was a crack, a sudden silence. Then a sharp cry. Lyra froze. She looked down. Beneath her clawed foot lay the pieces of the orb, shattered crystal, broken circuits, the light fading away. Mirika screamed and ran forward, scooping up the remains. "Mama, you broke it. You broke Daddy's toy." Lyra's heart stopped. She knelt down, trying to comfort her, but Mirika pulled away. Tears streamed down her small face, glowing faintly under the dim light. "I'm sorry, Mirika," Lyra whispered. "It was an accident. Mama didn't mean to." But the child only cried harder, clutching the broken parts like precious jewels. Lyra wanted to cry too, but she held it in. Her hands trembled as she looked at the shattered pieces. No one on Varos 9 repaired such toys anymore. They were old technology, delicate and long forgotten. That night, after Mirika fell asleep with the broken orb beside her, Lyra sat in silence. The low hum of machinery from the decks above filled the room. Her reflection stared back from the dark window, tired, hollow, ashamed. She had worked so hard to give her daughter a better life, and now she had destroyed the one thing that mattered most. The next morning, Lyra made a decision. She wrapped the pieces of the toy in a soft cloth and placed them in a small box. Then, with trembling hands, she left the apartment and walked toward the human district. Most Virelians avoided that area. Humans had only arrived on Varos 9 a few years ago, and many aliens still distrusted them. They said humans were unpredictable, too emotional, too loud, too bold. But Lyra had no other choice. She had heard whispers in the factory about a human mechanic who could fix anything. The walk through the lower decks was long and crowded. Lyra kept her head down, avoiding stares. The human sector looked different. Rough metal walls covered with colorful posters, strange smells of food, and laughter echoing through the halls. She stopped before a small workshop. A glowing sign read, "Evans Repairs. If it's broken, I'll fix it." Lyra hesitated. Her claws gripped the box tightly. Then she stepped inside. The workshop was messy but alive. Machines hummed, wires hung from the ceiling, and old robots stood in dusty corners. Behind a workbench, a tall human with short brown hair wiped his hands on a rag. His clothes were stained with oil, but his eyes were calm and kind. He looked up. "Hey there. Need something fixed?" Lyra froze, unsure how to respond. Human speech still felt strange to her ears. I have a thing. It broke. It is important," he smiled. "All right, let's take a look." She opened the box carefully. The broken pieces of the glowing orb shimmered faintly under the workshop lights. Evan leaned closer, his expression changing from casual interest to curiosity. "Well now," he said softly, "that's no regular toy. Haven't seen craftsmanship like this in a long time." It belonged to my daughter, Lyra said, her voice shaking. It was her father's gift. I stepped on it by mistake. Evan could see the pain in her eyes. He didn't ask questions. Instead, he nodded slowly. All right, let me see what I can do. He cleared his workbench and gently laid out the pieces. His hands moved with practiced precision, examining every shard, every wire. He muttered softly to himself, noting the design and crystal matrix. Lyra watched silently. The smell of metal filled the air, mixed with something sweet, maybe human coffee. For the first time in days, she felt a small flicker of hope. After a few minutes, Evan spoke. This toy uses a kind of quantum resonance crystal. Old tech, real old. You said your husband was a miner? Yes, she said. He found rare things. He said this toy was made from something called star-sung glass. I don't understand much. Evan smiled. It's beautiful stuff. Difficult to fix, but not impossible. Can you repair it? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. He looked at her for a moment. I can try, but it'll take some time. I can pay, Lyra said quickly, pulling out her small credit chip. He shook his head. No need for that right now. Let's first see if the little one's toy can sing again. Lyra didn't know what to say. No one had ever refused payment before. Among her people, kindness always came with a price. But this human spoke with such simple honesty that it felt strange and comforting. As Evan worked, he hummed quietly, an old earth tune Lyra didn't recognize. His tools sparkled under the light. Bit by bit, the broken pieces began to take shape again. She watched the human's hands, steady and gentle. He treated the toy as if it were something alive. For the first time in a long while, Lyra felt safe. After a few hours, Evan set down his tools. All right, he said, stretching his back. That's enough for today. Come back tomorrow and we'll see how it's coming along. Lyra nodded slowly. Thank you. Human Evan, he grinned. Just Evan is fine. When she left the workshop, the air outside felt lighter. For the first time in weeks, her heart wasn't filled with only guilt. Maybe, just maybe, things could still be fixed. That night, Mirika asked in a small voice, Mama, is my toy gone forever? Lyra smiled softly and brushed her daughter's wings. No, little star. There is a human who said he will try to make it sing again. Mirika blinked, surprised. A human? Yes, Lyra whispered. A human? The child thought for a moment, then smiled through her tears. Humans must be very kind. Lyra looked out the window toward the glowing towers of Varos 9. The city felt a little less lonely tonight. Somewhere out there, a human fixer was working to bring back a small piece of joy. And for the first time in years, Lyra dared to hope again. The next morning, Lyrathana held the small box close to her chest as she walked back through the narrow streets of Varos 9's human sector. The air was full of strange smells again. Smoke, metal, and the warm scent of food she couldn't name. She saw humans everywhere, busy, loud, laughing in ways her own people never did. She didn't understand them, but she was starting to feel something new, trust. When she reached Evan's repair shop, the door was open. Inside, she heard soft music playing from an old radio, the kind that used sound waves instead of digital transmissions. The tune was calm and warm, almost like a lullaby. Evan stood at the workbench wearing a dark apron, goggles on his forehead, and a cup of steaming drink beside him. He looked up when he saw her and smiled. Morning, Lyra, he said. Right on time. Good morning, human Evan, she replied, her voice soft but polite. He laughed lightly. Still calling me that, huh? All right, come take a look. On the table lay the glowing orb, half repaired now. Some of its crystal plates were reattached, glowing faintly again. Thin golden wires ran through the gaps, and a small energy coil pulsed gently in the center. Lyra gasped. It shines again. Not fully, Evan said, carefully adjusting a lens on his wrist scanner. The inner matrix is still unstable. One wrong move and it'll fry itself. But I think I can fix it. She watched as his hands moved with skill and patience. Each motion was slow, careful, and filled with focus. Lyra realized he wasn't just repairing a toy. He was bringing something back to life. How do you know how to fix such old things? She asked curiously. Evan smiled faintly. I used to work on ships during the human expansion war. We had to keep old tech running long after it was supposed to break. Sometimes you learn how to fix things because you can't afford to lose them. He paused and looked at her. Guess that's true for people too. Lyra tilted her head. People? Yeah, Evan said quietly. Sometimes we break. But if someone cares enough to try, we can be fixed too. Lyra said nothing, but the words stayed in her heart. As the day went on, Lyra helped where she could. She held tools, organized small parts, and cleaned pieces of metal. It reminded her of her factory job, except here, the air didn't feel heavy. There was no shouting supervisor, no cold efficiency. Instead, there was laughter. Evan told her stories about Earth, about the oceans, about how humans built flying cities and still argued over coffee flavors. Lyra found herself laughing softly at his strange jokes. At one point, Mirika came running into the workshop, her small wings fluttering. Mama, did he fix it yet? Evan looked up and smiled warmly. Hey there, little one. You must be Mirika, the child nodded shyly. Her bright eyes reflected the lights of the machines. Evan knelt down. Want to see something cool? Mirika hesitated, then nodded again. Evan placed a small holographic wrench in her hands. It floated like magic. This is a projection tool. It doesn't fix things, but it shows where the energy flows. She waved it through the air, watching glowing lines appear in the orb's structure. Her laughter filled the room. Lyra watched silently, her heart heavy and light at the same time. No one had ever shown her daughter such kindness before. For a moment, the workshop felt like a home. Hours passed. Evan adjusted the final connection, wiping sweat from his forehead. All right, he said softly. Let's test it. He placed the orb on the table and powered it up. It hummed softly, light growing stronger until it filled the whole room with a soft golden glow. Mirika gasped. It's singing. The orb floated slightly above the table, spinning slowly. Its soft tune echoed around the walls, gentle and full of warmth. Lyra felt her throat tighten. Then suddenly the light changed. A small hologram flickered above the orb. Lyra froze. The image was of a tall Varelian male, her late mate Sorinth. His voice, calm and loving, filled the air. My little star, if you ever find this message, it means I am gone. But don't be sad. I built this toy so you could always hear the song of the stars. Remember, even when the night is dark, the stars never stop shining. And your mother, she is the brightest of them all. Lyra covered her mouth, tears welling in her eyes. Mirika reached out toward the image, whispering, Daddy. Evan quickly looked away, pretending to check his tools, giving them privacy. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The message ended with a soft glow and the orb returned to its gentle hum. Lyra wiped her tears. I didn't know. He left a message inside. Hidden data crystal, Evan said quietly. Old miners use them sometimes. Guess your husband wanted to make sure you both remembered him. Lyra nodded slowly. You didn't just fix a toy, Evan. You gave us a part of him back. He smiled gently. Sometimes that's all people need. A small piece of what they lost. As Mirika played with the orb again, humming along with its song, Lyra felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. She looked at the human before her. You could have charged me. You could have refused to help. Why did you do it? Evan shrugged. Because I could. Because it mattered to you. Humans don't always need a reason to be kind. Lyra thought about that as she helped Mirika pack the orb carefully back into its box. My people, we don't understand such kindness easily, she admitted. We trade, we owe, we balance. But you just gave, Evan smiled. Maybe that's why we're all here, to teach each other new ways to be. When they stepped out of the shop, the lower decks of Varos 9 looked different to Lyra. The neon lights didn't feel cold anymore. The crowds didn't seem so distant. Somewhere inside her, a door had opened. That night, she told Mirika stories about humans, the strange newcomers who laughed loudly, worked hard, and fixed impossible things. Her daughter listened wide-eyed, holding the glowing orb close to her chest. Mama, Mirika said sleepily, do you think humans can fix everything? Lyra smiled softly. Maybe not everything, little star. But they try, and sometimes that's enough. She kissed her daughter's forehead and turned off the light. Meanwhile, back in the workshop, Evan sat alone, cleaning his tools. The radio played a soft tune in the background. He looked at the empty box where the toy had been and smiled. It had been a long time since he felt this kind of satisfaction. Not the kind from money or fame, but from doing something that mattered. He poured himself a cup of coffee and looked out the window at the endless metal cityscape. Fixing things, he murmured to himself. It's what we do. The next day, rumors began to spread in the alien districts. A human mechanic had repaired a lost Varelian artifact, something no machine shop had managed in decades. Aliens began whispering to one another in the corridors. Some said it was luck. Others said humans had secret tech. But a few said something different. They said humans cared. Back in her small apartment, Lyra looked at the repaired toy resting on the table. The soft light of the orb filled the room as Mirika danced around it. She smiled quietly and whispered to herself, "Thank you, human Evan." The city outside hummed as usual, but to Lyra, everything felt new. For the first time in years, she believed that kindness could change more than machines, it could change hearts. A week passed since Evan had repaired the glowing toy. In that time, Lyrathana noticed something strange happening on Varos 9. Everywhere she went, aliens were whispering about the human fixer. Some called him crazy for repairing old tech with no reward. Others said he must have secret human machines. But many were simply curious. Even in the factory where she worked, Lyra heard two Zarathian engineers talking. "I heard he fixed a Varelian relic," one said. "That's impossible. Humans don't even understand crystal resonance." Still, people are lining up to see him. Lyra smiled quietly and kept working. She didn't tell them she was the Varelian mother from the story. She didn't want fame or attention. She was simply happy her daughter could sleep peacefully again, hugging the glowing orb. But deep inside, she also felt something new, a sense of gratitude and curiosity. She decided to visit Evan again. The next morning, Lyra brought a small bag of food as a thank you gift. It wasn't much, some sweet root pastries her daughter loved, but it was all she could offer. When she entered Evan's repair shop, the place was busier than before. Aliens of all shapes and colors stood in line, some with broken drones, others with old machines or family heirlooms. Evan was working fast but calm, fixing each item with focus. His sleeves were rolled up, his hands covered in grease. He looked tired, but he smiled at every customer. When he saw Lyra, his eyes brightened. "Lyra, didn't expect you today." She smiled softly and held out the bag. "For you, and for the humans who work here." "A thank you," Evan chuckled. "You didn't have to, but thank you. Smells great." Lyra looked around the shop amazed. "You've become very busy." He sighed, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Yeah, I guess word travels fast. At first I thought they'd be afraid to come here. But looks like kindness spreads quicker than fear." Lyra nodded. "You are changing something, Evan." He smiled faintly. "Maybe. Or maybe people were just waiting for a reason to believe again." That day, Lyra decided to stay and help him. She organized parts, translated alien manuals, and even learned to use a few human tools. Evan noticed she had a natural understanding of machines. Her delicate insectoid claws were perfect for handling small circuits and fragile connections. "You've got talent," he said, handing her a microspanner. "You could be an engineer if you wanted." Lyra tilted her head. "In my world, mothers do not become engineers. They raise children." Evan smiled kindly. "Maybe in your world. But in mine, mothers build rockets, fix starships, and lead colonies." She laughed softly. "Humans are strange." "Yeah," he said. "But sometimes strange is good." As the days passed, Lyra began spending more time at the workshop. She came after work, helped until late, then walked home with small oil stains on her shell. Mirika would greet her excitedly, telling her about her day and showing her drawings she made of human Evan fixing stars. Each night, as the toy orb glowed softly on their table, Lyra felt peace returning to her life. Her daughter smiled more. Her heart felt lighter. One evening, a tall Terethian official entered Evan's shop. His metallic robe and polished armor marked him as part of the city's trade council. "You are the human called Evan Cole?" the official asked, his tone sharp. Evan looked up. "That's me. What can I do for you?" The alien frowned. "There have been complaints. Your repair shop operates beyond standard licensing. You fix alien technology without proper guild permission." Evan crossed his arms. "I fix what's broken. That's all." The official's eyes narrowed. "You are creating unrest. The alien sectors talk of human miracles. Such disruption is undesirable." Lyra, who had been working nearby, stepped forward. "He does nothing wrong. He helps people who cannot afford the guild prices. He gives hope." The official turned his cold gaze to her. "You are Varelian. You should know your kind's place. Evan's expression darkened. He stood between them, voice firm but calm. Her place is anywhere she wants to be, and my shop stays open. The Terethian stared at him for a long moment, then gave a small, cold smile. Very well, human. But the council will watch you. He turned and left. Silence filled the room. Lyra looked at Evan, her eyes wide. You should not have spoken to him like that. They are powerful. Evan shrugged. So what? Power doesn't make someone right. If they shut me down, I'll find another way to help. Lyra stared at him in quiet awe. Humans truly fear nothing. Evan smiled softly. Oh, we're scared all the time. We just do things anyway. Word of the incident spread fast. But instead of fear, more aliens came forward to support Evan. They brought tools, food, and even parts from their own species' technology. They helped him build better machines, stronger equipment, and faster repair systems. The shop became more than a workshop. It became a meeting place for all species. Lyra often stood at the counter, helping customers while Mirika played in the corner, teaching other children how the glowing toy worked. Soon, humans and aliens worked side by side, fixing everything from old robots to broken water filters. The laughter that filled the shop echoed through the lower decks of Varos 9. Even the Terethian officials eventually stopped interfering. They couldn't argue with the results. The broken part of the city was healing, one repair at a time. One evening, after a long day, Evan sat outside the shop, watching the neon lights reflect off the metal streets. Lyra joined him, holding 2 cups of warm tea. You changed this place, she said quietly. He shook his head. No, we did, she smiled. Before I met you, I thought the universe was only about survival. Work, eat, sleep, repeat. Now I see more. Evan looked at her curiously. What do you see? She looked up at the stars glowing faintly through the city's dome. I see hope. I see kindness. I see what your people bring. Evan smiled gently. You fixed me too, you know. She blinked. Fixed you? He nodded. I lost people during the war. After that, I stopped believing in connections. Then you walked in with that broken toy and suddenly, it all made sense again. Fixing isn't about machines, it's about hearts. Lyra looked down, her wings trembling softly. Then we both learned something. The next day, Varos 9 held its annual trade fair, a huge event where every species showed their inventions and crafts. For the first time, a small booth appeared with a human and a Varelian standing side by side. The sign above read, Hope repairs, we fix what matters. Crowds gathered, curious and smiling. Children from different species played together around the booth. Mirika stood proudly at the front, showing her glowing orb to everyone. It's more than a toy, she said in her sweet voice. It's a memory, and it sings. Evan laughed softly as he adjusted a machine nearby. Lyra handed out small crystal charms shaped like stars, each engraved with a message. Even broken things can shine again. The message spread across the fair. Reporters wrote about the human fixer and the alien mother. Their story became a symbol of unity and kindness, a small light in a cold galaxy. That night, after the fair ended, Lyra sat by the workshop window. Mirika slept in her arms, the glowing toy spinning softly beside her. Evan was cleaning up tools quietly. Lyra looked at him and said, You know, Evan, my daughter asked me what humans are like. I told her humans don't fix things because they are broken. They fix them because they believe nothing should stay broken forever. Evan smiled, setting down his tools. That's a good answer. Outside, the city lights of Varos 9 shimmered like stars. And in that little workshop, built by a human, guarded by an alien mother, and filled with laughter, hope had been repaired piece by piece.